Good morning, David. Can you just introduce yourself and what you do, please?
Good morning. My name is David Bennett and I am the Head of Functional Skills and Additional Learning Support for the LHAA and LBTA for people working in the hairdressing, barbering and beauty industries.
What is the normal challenges that your organisation faces?
Well, I would say that because obviously we're an organisation that are developing learners to be proficient in working within these service industries, there is obviously quite a focus on practical development in salon, but also linked with that an emphasis on theory and the understanding of the knowledge behind what they're doing. So what we find sometimes can be a challenge is that learners can really thrive in the practical side of learning, but when it comes more to the theoretical side and research they may need to do, tests they may need to pass, and functional skills that they need to complete as part of their apprenticeship, that is where some learners can struggle to achieve.
So why did you decide to implement Cognassist?
We decided to implement Cognassist as a company because we wanted to really focus on learning and development, the whole of the learner journey, to marry up with the practical side, to get learners to take a little bit more ownership going back into industry, thinking about their own organisational skills, their abilities to arrive at work on time, for them to hone their skills in terms of learning and development, and how they can research, how they can go away and become more efficient at finding things out, and also to help inspire them to think big in terms of what their career aspirations actually are.
And what have been the outcomes so far?
The outcomes so far are, there's been quite a lot of outcomes. So, for example, we have learners who they're very creative, that they're very image driven, they have real clear ideas of what they can see, how they can improve. For example, they may have a client and they can visualize very well the type of hairstyle that might suit that client. What they may struggle with is getting the words for that idea or that image, either writing those ideas down on paper or perhaps verbalizing them as well. And so that's one of the ways that we use Cognassist to support verbal reasoning. We have learners obviously working in salon who need to think about appointments, who need to use appointment diaries, who need to estimate stock levels. They're going to need to some of them will benefit from developing their numeracy. We also have learners who have come in, have English as their second language, and need strategies for improving their vocabulary so that they can better communicate with members of the public, because obviously they're working in a services industry. So Cognassist supports that in quite a lot of ways, and we try wherever we can to contextualize the cognitive domains that Cognassist is trying to support, so that they become more accessible to our learners, so that they understand exactly what they're trying to improve and why.
What do you think the biggest benefit to date is?
The biggest benefit to date is the fact that learner, I'll give you an example. A learner who struggles with timekeeping, for example, one of the Cognassist strategies is to focus more on look at numeracy from a point of view of understanding time a little bit better, organising, prioritising what needs to be done in the morning, and so, creating strategies and suggesting ways that people could improve their own time management. So, you know, that will focus on some numeracy, that will focus on some executive function. At the end of the day, these are real life situations. If a learner comes in and they're late, there's going to be an impact. And if a learner comes to their salon late, then there's going to be an impact. So, you know, it's about using what Cognassist can provide to really support sort of the economic viability of our learners, so that they're ready.
Would you recommend Cognassist to others?
Yes, wholeheartedly. This is about additional learning support, and additional learning support manifests itself in a number of ways. Before we were using Cognassist, we focused on additional learning that may have been predominantly around, for example, dyslexia, visual stress, dyscalculia, without being able to consider the larger picture in terms of how we learn and develop, where those strengths may be in learning and development, but also where the limitations currently are. And so what Cognassist allows us to do as a company is it allows us to focus on those other cognitive domains so that learners become more rounded, and as more rounded individuals become more economically viable going into these service industries. And that is why we use Cognassist, and that's why I recommend it.
And what advice would you give to others that are considering Cognassist?
The advice I would give is that cognitive domains are cognitive domains, regardless of industry. If a Cognassist can work for hair, barbering, beauty, a Cognassist can work for other industries. It is industry-wide. Each industry will have its own learning and development needs and its own strategies to make apprentices and other learners more effective. And it's just a case of contextualizing what Cognassist is already providing into that particular industry. And that's very easy to do.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.